Hello, welcome back to another step, and let's proceed where we left. And this is step 10. And if you take a look of the whole frame, we've bolted all the parts, but you notice these corners haven't been bolted. So this is where we are targeting. Now, if I zoom close, you'll be able to see this part is clashing with that. So it makes it harder to bolt together. So the now comes here the skills of fitting. Now, how do you fit this without any clash? So what I'm going to do, I want to offset this member up by 5 millimeter. The reason why I'm choosing 5 millimeter is because if I double click on this member, you can see the thickness of this member is 5 millimeter, and that 5 millimeter is what has been eaten here. So I want to offset it up by 5 millimeter. So once I've selected on that, I'll right click and come to spatial copy and pick on linear, and I'll move upward by 5 millimeter right there. So I'll move 5 millimeter up, and once I move 5 millimeter up, you will realize that at the end here, at the back here also, you can see I have a part clashing and touching or intruding into another part here, the vertical member. So what do? I have to offset this once again backward by 5 millimeters. So I'll just select on this, then right click and come to, then first of all interrupt, disconnect that command that is active. So let me just select on that, then right click and come to move spatial and pick on linear. So I want to move this way off by 5 millimeter, but this time round we are not moving on the Z axis, we are moving on the X axis. So I'll come to X axis and feed in 5 millimeter and click move. So I'll move slightly by 5 millimeter. You can see that. So if I come inside here, you'll be able to see there's no clash. This member fits in that, and I can create a point and bolt that. So this applies to all. This applies to all members that runs vertical, and you can see the connection can be created there. So I'll do the same at the bottom end here. I'll do the same at the bottom end here, but you can see another task is the bolts we had created has touched the bottom member here. So how do we deal with this? I'll show you step by step as we move. Now you can see this member has gone into this by 5 millimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'll do the same thing I did up there. I'll select on this member, right click and come to, let me just disconnect that command. I'll select that member, then come to special move, then I'll move it downward by 5 millimeter. So I'll prefix my 5 millimeter by negative sign, and that will move down like that. So once that has moved down, I'll come to navigate here and rotate this, turn it around. So you can see this member still is intruding into this member, into this vertical member. And since the thickness of this is 5 millimeter here, this is the thickness, I want to use the 5 millimeter thickness backward. So I'll select on this member, right click and come to, I'll select this member and right click and come to special move here. Then I'll move it on the X axis by 5 millimeter. So I'll click move, so that will move by 5 millimeter backward. So I'll come to navigate here and try to turn that round. So you can see here a bolt touches the bottom end of this particular bolt we are seeing at the bottom end here. I'll show you how we can correct that bolting. So let's first of all begin our bolting up here. So as usual, our guiding lines or our guiding points or our guiding points will start from here, and this is how you create them. You come to edit, then under edit you'll be able to access this tool here called points. So how do you create the points? I'll come to points here at any position here, and I'll pick this bottom end as my guideline, and then first of all I'll pick this one here as my guideline, that one there, and snap on top there. So I'll use this point and this edge as my I'll use this point and this edge to get a midpoint here. So I'll come to points here and pick on online point, then snap on that spot, come to this edge here and pick on that. So I have my midpoint here. So this midpoint is what I'm going to offset upward by a particular distance. Let me just reason why you see if I right click, I have this interrupt means there is the command that I was using previously is still active. So I'm being told to interrupt that before I go to another command. That's why you see sometimes I click interrupt to disable the previous command that I had used initially. So I'll click interrupt to disconnect from that previous command. Then I'll click this, right click and come to move. So I'll click move and I'll use the z-axis and the rest will remain at 0. So at z-axis, I'll just type 20. I'll move up by 20 millimeter. So that seemed close to the edge, and I'll slightly add 5 millimeter right there. I'll just undo and click that, right click and come to whatever I was telling you is this. If the initial command is still active, the moment you right click to go to another command, you'll be prompted with this to interrupt. I'll interrupt that, then click on empty screen. So the moment you see this orange means you can initiate, you can go ahead and invoke or make another command active or apply another command. So if I click on this point right here, right click and come to special move, I'm going to adjust this instead of 20, I can use 25. So I'll go ahead and click that. So that will be okay. So once that has been created, what I'm going to do here, I'll try to copy this. I'll try to copy this point from that spot. Right click, I'll copy that. I'll try to copy this point. It's not active. If I copy that point, right click and come to copy here and try to copy it from that spot. Let me try to copy it and I'll snap on that spot and try whether I'll have that point in place. So it's working out and I can snap on that spot and place my point right there and move all the way to the other end and place and copy, place another point there and move here and place another point there. So I'll move here and place another point there and I'll place another point right there. So if I come back to this far end where I started everything here, I want to start placing my bolts. So to place the bolts, I'll come to steel and come to bolt and pick the members I want to bolt together, then press my space bar and snap on that spot and snap on any point adjacent to it or any snap adjacent to it. Then if I click that, I'll be able to get my point in my bolt in place. But a reason why it is appearing like this, I can still maneuver to make it orient itself into the current work plane. So instead of wasting that time, just undo everything here, undo everything there, then come to view, then place, align your XYZ plane with the location of this particular bolt point. So I'll come to view, then come to work plane tool and just snap on that surface where I intend to place the bolt. And if I zoom out, you'll be able to see my plane is exactly on that spot. So if I come to steel, come to bolt and pick the members I want to bolt together and press spacebar and snap on that and snap right there. You can see I have my member in place. So I can go ahead and create the other bolts by following the same process like that and press spacebar and that, and I'll snap on that spot. Right click and terminate that command, then come back to bolt, and I want to connect that to that, then press spacebar and locate the location of the bolt, and you're done. So I'll go there and also and pick the bolt and pick the members I want to bolt together and press spacebar, click on that and that. I have the bolt in place. So I'll repeat the same process by coming to bolt, select on that, press spacebar and snap on that spot and snap on that spot. And terminate that and invoke that command once again, pick on that, select this member and select on that member press spacebar and snap on adjacent snapping point, and again terminate that. Pick the bolt or command, then select the parts you want to bolt together, then press spacebar and snap on space. Press spacebar prior to mousing over that point, then click on that point, then look a point, any snap adjacent to it, and click, and you have our bolt in place. So we've bolted the upper member, the upper frame. So if I turn that round, you'll be able to see I have my bolts in place. Everything is bolted or connected correctly. So once I've done so, I'll come back at the bottom end here and do exactly the same thing. But we have a challenge here, whereby we have this bracing, its bolt is slightly colliding with this. So first of all, we have to correct this. We have to come back here and correct that. And to correct this is either by, we either first of all delete this, or I can give you this as an assignment so that you try this by yourself, because I've showed you how we can work this out. So the process we are going to actually follow here is just to follow the same process we had followed up there. So the next step you'll do is just offset this bolt upward and move the other end, and also offset this bolt upward so that there's no collision here. So I'll come to navigate and show you that like that. You can see there's this bolt is actually, part of it is touching the member at the bottom end here. So what can be done, just selecting on this member, and you can drag that up, or what can be done, you just create another bracing from that end and coming all the way here. So that is what can be done actually, because you don't want to waste so much time there. It's a simple thing, and you can also do that. If I turn this round here, you can see we've finalized everything, and I'll come to work plane tool here and take my work plane tool to global position right there on I mean at the 0, 0 level. So I'll right click and left click, then right click and come to redraw. I'll refresh everything, and there we are. Let's meet on the next presentation. And this is Morris Dimba, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and bye bye.